Sounds like George Kittle might come back sooner than we all expected. What's up? Good afternoon. Welcome to Cohn and Krueger. That's Larry Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn, and we have breaking news. According to The Athletic's Matt Barrows, apparently George Kittle is aiming for a week 1 return. This is what Barrows wrote in his most recent mailbag article. He says, I don't think Kittle's Achilles tendon tear will keep him out for all of or even most of next season. In fact, he's aiming to be back by week 1, though that seems less likely if the team opens the season with a 16-hour flight to Australia. Larry, what do you make of this prognostication from Matt?
Well, it is interesting. First of all, this injury used to be death, right? I mean, if you had this injury, your career was over. It didn't matter what position you played. And then there's been medical advancements that have changed this procedure. And when Klay Thompson blew out his Achilles, Grant, some of the Warrior people told me that the way they did the surgery is they kind of lock the Achilles to the ankle. So it's like you could never have a second ruptured Achilles of at least the same one. So the advancements of the techniques and how they repair this thing have gotten worlds better. The rehab time has gotten shorter. That all being said, if I were the 49ers, as much as they need the tight end, as much as they use the tight end, I would still go about things like Kittle was not coming back, just because you need to support him and not have him try to be the driving force of your offense. He's a 34-year-old tight end coming off of an Achilles. You can't. I would go sign an Elijah Pitts or somebody like that, or it's not Elijah. Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Atlanta. I think he's on the verge of a 5-year incredible breakout. He could be kind of like your Christian, or kind of like reminds me a little bit of Marshawn Lynch when Marshawn left Buffalo for Seattle. Great player, didn't happen in Buffalo, went to Seattle, was awesome. Kyle Pitts has been okay in Atlanta, but he hasn't had the quarterback or the offense. You put him in Kyle's system, I'd much rather pay Pitts than JJ.
When I first read this report from Barrows, one, he's talking to Kittle or Kittle's camp, which makes me feel like, of course, Kittle's going to feel optimistic that he can come back quickly. He's a Hall of Fame athlete. Fred Warner was pushing to do the same thing. So I'm not surprised there. I was thinking about Greenlaw. Greenlaw tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl and really wasn't available the next season. And this last year, he still was kind of hurt. And it feels like maybe now 2 years removed from that, he might be able to have like a full season. But then there's what Kittle said. He said it happened higher up. It was clean. And that should cut some months off of the recovery time. So the other example that popped in my head is Michael Crabtree. Michael Crabtree tore his Achilles in 2013. It was May 21st to be exact. This was an OTAs. He returned December 1st that season and played through the playoffs. That was the season where Richard Sherman had the famous tip interception to Malcolm Smith. That was that season. So he made it back. He wasn't great that year, but he definitely, that's 6 months and change. So it can be done.
Was he ever great again, by the way, Crabtree?
You know, he had another 1,000-yard season with the Raiders. He was pretty good. Now, he was 26 when this happened. Kittle's 32, and he weighs 250 pounds. So maybe 6 months is a little ambitious even for him, but I guess I would expect him to play this year.
I mean, here's the one thing about Kittle. I mean, I admire Kittle greatly, but the reality of Kittle's body is that he was a much lighter athlete, you know, and I don't want to say he's pumped up, but he's built himself up. And he's not like if he doesn't lift his walk, he'll shrink up. His walk around weight is not his playing weight. Like some guys, their walk around weight is their playing weight. For him, it isn't. So, you know, it's possible that he's put a lot of torque on his body just by adding weight that it didn't naturally have. Because, I mean, he was like 220 pounds, I believe, like deep into his college career. And now he's like 245 and ripped and jacked and everything. But maybe there's 20 extra pounds there that
that's him right there.
Yeah. I mean, what does he weigh?
That's George Kittle coming out of high school.
What's that weight say? I can't even read.
They say 235. That's pretty generous. I've seen him at like light. 200. He was a wide receiver coming out of high school.
and he's big now. He's jacked.
Yeah.
So I would say, that's a concern, and that might have led to it. But I mean, I hope for the best. It's just one of those things where this guy's going to try to do everything, and the Niners need him to run the ball. They need him to catch the ball. I think if you go after another tight end, I definitely would. I think there's going to be at least a half dozen really good tight ends that are lopped off as cap casualties. Tommy Tremble, Cole Kmet, Evan Ingram, lots of them. Colby Parkinson. There's going to be a bunch of tight ends that are going to be available. Later on this offseason. I think the Niners got to go get themselves one.
Yeah, and they don't have to be the greatest tight ends in the world. And look what the Rams did. They had 3 or 4 solid tight ends. The
Yeah.
Niners should have 3 or 4 solid tight ends. And I know they're going to tell themselves like, "Look, George Kittle's special. He's Superman. He can come back really fast." But they don't need him to do that. They need to be really careful with George Kittle because he's the best player in their offense, and at the same time, you gotta wonder what he's gonna be when he gets back from this injury.
I mean, he's not going to be faster, right? He's not going to be. He's not going to be better. He's going to be worse, diminished, slower. The question is how much. And the guy's such a picture of fitness, and he's such an all around great player that I'm sure he'll find a way to be a very good player. But it wouldn't hurt to you saw the success that some of these teams are having with 12 and 13 personnel. To me, the biggest disappointment of last year's offseason was signing Farrell to the money they did. He was totally nothing. I mean, Farrell, he was supposed to be this awesome blocker. He wasn't an awesome blocker. He's nothing as a receiver. He's just stiff. So I would cut him, use his money. You have Tonjes. Willis is a nothing. So you got hurt Kittle and you got Tonjes for one more year. And then you got to go get some guys. I mean, you really got to go look into the free agent market, the draft, trades, the whole deal. They use their tight end a lot in this offense.
Yeah, they can't just be like, "Look, Kittle's coming back. He'll save us." I mean, even if he does make a miraculous comeback and play well, it seemed like he was breaking down before this injury happened. He had that hamstring injury right away. He said he tore it. Then he came back and hurt his ankle. Then he said that he was overcompensating and it led to this Achilles injury. He's 32 years old. Sometimes the aging process happens quickly at the end. So it's great that he's going to try to make this superhuman Herculean recovery effort, but it's possible that this is the beginning of the end for George Kittle, and all the more reason to start looking into more tight ends, multiple.
Yeah, I mean, and there's nothing, we don't. I know you don't say that with any joy. We're not.
No,
we
not
don't-
at all.
We're not excited that this is the end. This is just the way it is. I mean, look at Greenlaw this year. He played 68% of the snaps in the games that he played. He only played 8 games. He missed times with a quad injury, a hamstring injury, a calf injury. Suddenly, you tear an Achilles, and that changes everything in your whole gait and everything. And all of a sudden, it's like cars that have tires that rub wrong. Eventually, you're just going to have a bunch of injuries. So, we hope for the best, but I think since he's 34 and he's such an integral part of what they do, you may want to go add a couple players at this position just so you're covered.
Kyle Pitts, Dave Njoku, there are options out there.
Tommy Tremble is a guy that I really like.
Jewish guy says Kittle is closer to Aaron Rodgers' age than Crabtree. Well, there is that. I wonder if that will slow down the recovery process at all. Nick H says Isaiah will likely be very cheap.
No, he won't.
Isaiah likely.
I don't think he's going to be cheap. I think he's going to cost a lot. But I love that name, by the way. That's a great name. If you could get Isaiah Likely from the Ravens, I would do it.
It's really too bad that the Niners gave a 3-year contract to Luke Farrell. God, he did a whole lot of nothing this year.
You know who's another name to keep your eye on? Brock Purdy's college tight end, plays for the Ravens and is a free agent, I believe. His name's Charlie Kohler. And Dieter threw him out to me in a stream that we did the other day, but it makes a lot of sense. He's a pretty good blocker, decent receiver, going to be very cheap free agent. And, Purdy threw him a lot of balls at Iowa State.
I got a question for you. The Seahawks just had an incredible season. What an accomplishment to win a Super Bowl with that team that they built from the ground up with that quarterback. The 49ers had, a successful season in a different sense. Looking back on it, now that the whole thing is over, what would you say the Niners' biggest accomplishment this year was?
Well, I mean, definitely beating Philly in Philly. beating just with what? I mean, with Wallow, Kendricks, Samo, just a whole Clee Farrell. I mean, like I'm looking on the binoculars in the playoffs, and I'm like, they're about to knock off the world champion Eagles in their backyard with like 5 guys in their front 7 that didn't even go to camp with them. So it's like it's unbelievable. I mean, it was really an amazing. That was an amazing victory. All things considered. I mean, I know the Eagles had their own dysfunction and whatnot, but that was an amazing win. It was great, great defense too. I mean, that was Wallow and Kendricks and West and Collins, and they just did so many smart things. There was such great communication in that game. They were so tied together. To me, that either the Ram win with Mac would be a close second, but I would say I would go with the playoff win.
I would agree that they pulled out a couple of wins, and the week 1 win over Seattle, they pulled out like 3 wins out of their rear end that they probably shouldn't have. In all 3 cases, there were some incredible plays and coaching performances. So I agree with that. I think it's unfortunate that their biggest accomplishment this season was winning games and piling up these wins by sort of giving the ball to Christian McCaffrey 800 times. It would have been nice if their biggest accomplishment this year, because it was supposed to be like a rebuild, reset year, was that they developed a bunch of young players. But you can't really say that they did. Like the best young player they developed this year was like Upton Stout, who's a pretty good slot cornerback who can't really play any other positions. So it's great that they got the most out of Christian McCaffrey and got the most out of this roster and won those games. But I still wonder, like, what does that mean going forward?
I mean,
Does
I
that
don't
mean
know.
that
I don't know if they get the most out of the roster. I mean, like, Jordan Watkins, I think, is a player. He didn't even get on the field. And when he
Good
did,
point.
he got like one look. And then I think this is, this is a,
Jordan James got on the field, looked good. It's like, where was he all year?
I'll tell you what bothered me about this year more than anything is that every single time they needed help, they went for somebody that Shanahan used to like
I agree.
3 years ago. And so who was that receiver that they was active in the Eagle game? Who was a special teamer? They signed him back, Malik Turner, right? They went back to Malik
Marquez Valdez
Turner.
Scantling,
They went
Robbie
back
Chosen. I mean, Andy
Robbie
Isabella.
Chosen,
Yeah,
Bourne. I mean, they went back to guys that they knew and guys it's like, in reality, Brandon Cooks would have been a way better choice than Bourne. Why? Because Brandon Cooks can still run, and you have no speed at all. And to me, the most startling part about this year, if there's one thing that I'll remember, is when I watched the all 22 of the Seattle division round playoff game. There was the least separation I've ever seen from any 49er game that I've ever watched in the all 22. Nobody got separation at all. They ought to just roll a holiday fogger into the receiver room, close the door, and start new. There isn't a receiver on that team that's worth keeping at all. I mean, once Kittle went down, they got nothing. No separation at all. Glued to the receivers to the corners were the receivers. So that's their O-line's not good. Their defense needs help, but they have to blow up the wide receiver room. There ain't nothing there, and they got to start fresh.
yeah. It's too bad the Niners that their accomplishments weren't more with the young players. Like you said, you didn't develop a single young player on offense. That's a huge problem. Yeah, you just said you got to blow up the wide receiver room. Do you? I don't know. Jordan Watkins might be great. I loved him in training camp, and they looked like they shut him down because of God knows what. I mean, you pressed him on that all year, and finally he went through like a blow by blow chronology of it, and I still wasn't
Right.
satisfied. It felt like no, dude, you're playing stiffs over a guy who runs a 4.3 and had a good offseason. Miss me with that. If he's healthy, he should be. So
And that wasn't the
yeah,
only
I feel
one.
like
That
it was
wasn't
kind
the
of a
only
missed
one.
opportunity, and they can pat themselves in the back and say, "We exceeded expectations." Yeah, because you gave the ball to Christian McCaffrey 800 times. What does that accomplish, really, in the grand scheme of things for the future of this franchise?
I mean, did you develop Jordan James? Did you develop Cowing? Did you develop Watkins? Did you develop Sebastian Valdez, who looked great this summer, only never to be activated the whole year, not once.
Collins and Stout.
Colin
Collins and
and
Stout with a half
West
season of Michael.
and West. West, I think West actually is better than Collins. And by the end of the year, I thought he was playing really, really well. I thought West, to me, it's Stout and West for sure are the young players that emerged, and Collins to a degree. But yeah, I mean, Nick Martin, what's the story there? I mean, what is the story?
Marquise
You
Siegel.
literally had a bunch of dudes that you gave.
Yeah.
You was like, I almost felt like who was going to play linebacker? Anybody but Nick Martin.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it felt like. Oh, well, just
Yeah.
anybody that we have. We got a guy who's pretty athletic, who was at 24-hour fitness the other day. Let's throw him out there because he's better than Nick Martin. It's like, what? Nick Martin was your third-round pick. Either your guy who's drafting doesn't know the draft, or you're not coaching him up, or there's a little disconnect there. So yeah, I mean,
I got an accomplishment. No sarcasm. They found a great special teams coordinator. They found a really good returner, and they found a great kicker. Now, he's a free agent, but they can franchise tag. I mean, they were trying for a long time to replace Robbie Gould. They did. They turned one of the worst, if not the worst, special teams unit in the league, one that was costing them games, into a great special teams unit, and that bodes well for the future.
No doubt. And now they're all free agents. You've got Morstead and Weeks and Eddie and Moore. They're all free agents. But I would
other than that,
yeah, I mean, other than that, but I mean, I agree. I mean, you changed your culture. You brought in a coach that's really tough, and I didn't agree with the Junior Bergen 7th-round pick, but whatever. You win some, you lose some, but you brought in other guys, and all of those guys should be brought back. And if you do bring them back, at least you've solved the special teams issues, and now you can go figure out your issues on both sides of the ball outside of special teams.
Tyga Style says, ever think of having Tom Jensen on either stream? I've streamed with Tom many times. He writes for me on SI, and he does a great job with Ashley. I'd like to have both of them on sometime soon. Corey Coleman says, Walker and Lenore hate each other. He's not signing.
Who's not signing?
Oh, I wanted them to sign Kenneth Walker. I don't think he's going to sign with the Niners.
Well, I mean, that was the other amazing thing, is like Kenneth Walker in this final stretch of the year became the Kenneth Walker that everybody thought he was at Michigan State, at Wake Forest, in college, that he was going to be this awesome guy. I mean, he played amazing. I mean, he was absolutely amazing with speed and cutting ability, and he looks amazing. He doesn't always go with the play the way it's blocked.
Not at all.
No, I mean,
it seems like he goes off script every time.
He's got a little bit of Barry Sanders to him, though. He will declare the hole. He'll jump in it, and then he's so athletic that he'll jump out of it and jump into a different hole. I mean, it's like the guy's maddening, I'm sure, but he's also dynamic.
Yeah, he was outstanding. Daza says, with the upcoming talk for the offseason draft and potential moves, why should Niners fans be optimistic that anything will change going into year 10? Hold on to that thought. I actually have a topic, Larry, so you're prepared. Reasons the Niners Niner fans should feel optimistic heading into 2026, and then we'll also do reason Niner fans should feel pessimistic. So have that in the back of your mind, Daz. We're coming back to that. And then Good Vibes Only says, bringing Debo back would be just another sign that the Niners are more into maintaining the core fraternity than giving opportunities to new players. I guess we should talk about that, because it's like seriously going to happen. So hold on. I didn't have it down because I feel like no one wants it, but maybe I'm wrong. Larry, Debo was out here with the Niners, partying with them during the Super Bowl. George Kittle was interviewed by someone at Sports Illustrated and said, hey, we're going to bring back a familiar face. We could bring back a familiar face. They were like, is it Debo? He was like, I love Debo. What do you think about the likelihood of Debo coming back and the wisdom of Debo coming back?
I centered on this about 10 days ago when I was reading articles about guys who are going to be cap casualties, and I started looking at the list. Eric Armstead, probably going to be a cap casualty. Dre Greenlaw, probably going to be a cap casualty. Debo's already out there. Javon Hargrave, going to be a cap casualty. There's a lot of guys that were here before that are going to be cap casualties by their new teams. And all I would say is that the best personnel guys have a coldness to their personality. There is no such thing as a two. You don't get two primes in you might get two primes in baseball if you take PEDs, but you're not getting two primes in the NFL. And so when the guy crests the hill and he starts to get worse, get off, move on, do not go back. And there's no room at all for sentimentality when you're building a football team. So no to Eric Armstead and his 16 pressures, no to Javon Hargrave, no to Dre Greenlaw and his 58% plays in 8 games with 9 injuries. No to Debo. No, 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 and no. And here's the thing: people will write these stories because the fans love the reunion tour. The media people love the reunion tour. Oh, I know Debo. I'll be able to ask him a couple, questions, whatever. You don't have two primes. When a guy crests the hill, say goodbye.
I feel like Kyle Shanahan's trying to reinvent himself, his image. Him going on that Super Bowl pregame show was like, who is this? That's something he would never seem to want to do in the past. Now it seems like he was eager to do it. He had a great suit on. He combed his hair. He didn't say a bunch of times. This was a whole brand. It was a self-deprecating, funny Kyle Shanahan with insight. I mean, to me, he's trying to re-endear himself to the fans. It's been 10 years and some fans are getting restless. What he can't do is bring back Debo Samuel. You need to evolve. And for the last 3 years, it feels like your only really idea on offense is give the ball to Christian McCaffrey as much as humanly possible. If you bring back Debo Samuel, you're just gonna go back to what the offense was 2-3 years ago, except with older players. I mean, they look the same, but they can't hit the dance moves the same way anymore. Don't do it. You got to get younger and faster on offense. Debo accomplishes neither of those things. He just gets in the way of Jordan Watkins, frankly.
Plus, he wants to come back because this is his only place that there's warmth for him. But the
Yeah.
reality is he's going to, as soon as you entertain the idea, now he's going to want to get as close as he can to $13 million a year. And he's not worth a third of that. So, I mean, what are we talking about? I mean, if he's willing to come back for two years at $2.5 million, and you really think he's a culture player, but look at what the Debo runs produced. You told us that your offensive line's good. So if it's not your offensive line, why is he getting 2.5 yards a carry in all of his runs his last year with the Niners? It's because he's done. He's absolutely done. And if you go
the
back,
Niners bringing Debo back would be like the Rams bringing Cooper Kupp back next year. Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. It's over. You had some great years with the guy. You moved on. Maybe it was too soon. Maybe not. He's not that good anymore. He's not changing anything for you. You got to find someone new. And the thing is, the Rams would never bring back Cooper Kupp because that's stupid. And the Niners, I'd like to think they're not actually considering this. And I'd like for George Kittle to stop playing general manager for this team. I still think he's the main reason Kyle Juszczyk got re-signed after getting cut. That was highly unusual. And please, man, stop bringing your friends back on the team. Trent Taylor is still on the team, probably because he's best buds with George Kittle. Enough of the buds. It's not a social group.
Matching outfits, no.
Enough.
Second 10 years with the team, no.
It's like Sigma 49ers, you know what I mean? It's like a fraternity. Stop it. And he's the social chair. And everyone has to go through George. Come on, man.
The matching outfits was really bad, man. When I saw that, I was like, man, that's like Ryder Cup. I felt like I was watching the Ryder Cup.
Pi Kappa Niners. Okay. Let's get a couple super chats. I want to encourage these. Nick H says, are we sure their first pick won't be a medical flag? It better not be. And I just want to give the Niners credit for a second for not taking James Pierce Jr. I want to give you guys credit because I was over here being like, what did he do? There's nothing really concrete. People were saying he was nuts before. And I was like, oh. And I want a mental note for myself and take those things seriously, especially in the first round. Well, really in all rounds, but you can't take any risks in round one. And it seems like James Pierce was obviously a huge risk that the NFL knew about it. And the Niners didn't go that route. So good on you.
Yeah. I mean, you have to do your due diligence. I would say at least 20% of the time, guys, that you'll see somebody go like 4 rounds late, and you'll be like, why is this guy still available? It's probably because he's a bad guy and they flagged him. I mean, Aaron Hernandez went 3 rounds later than people thought because people thought, or 2 rounds later because you know what? He was a bad guy. So these guys have more information. We can watch the film. We don't get a chance to meet them. We don't get a chance to talk to the NFL security people about what they have found or any of the on-campus sources that will tell you, hey, by the way, steer clear of this guy. He is an absolute nightmare. So they get that information and we're not privy to it. And nobody's going to put anybody down by releasing it publicly. Everybody's just going to steer clear. So, sometimes when they don't draft the guys we want, we got to remember they got a lot more info about these guys than we do.
Cameron says, yo, Grant, how do I get into the Cabo clique? All right, this is a fair question. You got to be on the 49ers. You got to play football for the 49ers or be on their practice squad or on IR like Trent Taylor. You got to be friends, most likely, with the use checks and the Kittles. I say plural because it's a whole family thing.
Your girlfriend or wife has to have bought one of Hughes Check's wife's jackets.
Yep. And I think it wouldn't hurt if you registered as a Republican. I'm just saying it came out that the Niners are the most Republican team in the league, which just, which is fine. It just gives you a peek into their culture. So, it wouldn't hurt to like wear one of those hats that Bosa wears and
move to Iowa, maybe move to Iowa.
Yeah. Get cowboy boots, learn how to line dance, play golf, get khakis, listen to country music, go to Morgan Wallen concerts. What am I missing?
Go to a Predators game, wear a jersey.
Yeah, I think that should do it.
Tight end U. Be very positive about tight end U.
Tight end U. Oh my God, tight end U. Zach Garza 42 says, not sure how Niners fans ride their high horse of this ownership and front office when nothing has changed from the philosophy and draft in a decade. I hear you, man. KRNA RMG says Kittle hasn't been healthy since 2017. Time to move on. Hi, George. I think it's a little late. SRT Unk 415 says, why does everyone want Crosby? I prefer Hendricks, and we will get to save our picks to fill other holes in the roster. Because he's younger than Hendricks, and he's really freaking good. Those would be the reasons. But yeah, I mean, Larry had a bunch of reasons why not to go after Crosby last week, and they were compelling.
Well, I just, first of all, let's not talk about it anymore because we all know that Mark Davis ain't going to change his barber, ain't going to stop going to P.F. Chang's, and ain't going to trade Max Crosby to the Niners no matter what.
Well put. Got you. And then he says, Isaiah likely would be a cheaper option than Pitts. True. Nicole L.D. Niners says, would you rather sign Debo or Jawan Jennings?
No doubt.
Man, can I have neither? How about none of the above?
Well, I'll take Jennings, but I'll say this. I saw the estimate the other day at 3 years at $17 million, and that's too high.
Yeah. I mean, just like, if you could have these guys for free, I guess, but I wouldn't want to pay $1. I want to play Jordan Watkins. That's what I want to do. I want to draft another wide receiver. I want Ricky Pearsall to stay healthy and step up. Nick H says, thoughts on Elijah Vera Tucker? Former free agent. Former first-round pick. Went to my high school. Sure.
Oh, did he? He's
hell yeah.
He's an O'Dowd? I didn't know that.
We're a factory, Larry.
He's been on bad teams. So, it's hard to sometimes evaluate offensive linemen on bad teams. It's kind of like who did the Niners when the Niners got Laken Tomlinson from the Lions. The Lions were really bad team at that time. So, I like Elijah Vera Tucker, and he went in the first round for a reason. And yeah, if you could get him and they need to upgrade, they need to start moving people in the interior. I know, Lombardi put out stats about, pass rush win rate and run block win rate, and the Niners are mid-pack. But they're mid-pack with the best left tackle in the game. So what does that tell you? It tells you that they probably have some weak links on that offensive line, especially since Shanahan showed no interest in running up the gut on 4th and 1. So I'm tired of hearing about how great the Niner O-line is when it's clearly not great. And they need more beef in the middle, and they need a long-term tackle for sure in this draft.
Mr. Fish and Chips says, Rams, Seattle win bowl before Kyle Shanahan. Arizona next. My goodness, if Mike LaFleur. I don't think so. But I didn't really think much of Sam Darnold this year before he went and did what he did. All right, Larry, you've talked about this a little bit. Let's debate this one. What is the 49ers' top priority this offseason in terms of like a position group or area of the team they need to address? We all know they need to address a lot of things, but if there's the number one thing, what is it?
Well, I mean, to me, what is the biggest difference between the Niners now and the Niners a few years ago? It's linebacker. You used to have the fastest, best linebackers. You were so loaded that you had Azeez Al-Shaair just sitting on the sidelines. You just had dudes. He's awesome. He's like one of the best linebackers and one of the best defenses. You had Greenlaw, Warner, and Azeez all in their prime. And now you're leaning on Kendricks and Wallow and Graham and just guys off the street, slow as hell. They need linebackers, man. They need dynamic, moving linebackers. The good news is you can get them all in all 3 rounds of the draft, but the bad news is they need like 3 of them. I mean, they're linebackers. It's Fred Warner, Bethune's kind of tough. Nick Martin's got concussion problems, and everybody else needs to just leave. So, I mean, they need help badly.
It's a great answer. There's so many right answers here. To me, this is an offensive driven team. You don't have Robert Saleh anymore. You're so invested in the quarterback position and left tackle and running back and tight end that you can't be. You got to finish the offense. And the question is, what do you? So I'm going to go on offense on this one. What do you prioritize, offensive line or weapons? You can make the argument for weapons, but I'm going to say offensive lines simply because you drafted Jordan Watkins and Jordan James. You didn't give them a chance. You essentially redshirted them. So does redshirt mean prepare them, get them indoctrinated in the system so that year 2 they're ready to hit the ground running and actually contribute? Or you draft them, don't give them a chance, forget about them, and then get rid of them. It can't be the second one. I liked what I saw from Jordan James in the playoffs, and I liked what I saw from Jordan Watkins whenever he got an opportunity. I think between Watkins and Pearsall and James and McCaffrey and Kittle if he comes back, you're not terrible. You actually have potential there with some youth and some speed. Where are the young guys on the offensive line? Burford's leaving. Barch isn't an option. Connor Colby wasn't good. Brendel isn't good. I don't care how many times the Niners say he is. Plus, he's almost 35. They can't block Leonard Williams. They can't block Byron Murphy. They can't block DeMarcus Lawrence. They got to improve that offensive line. Have to. And maybe it's Elijah Vera Tucker. Maybe they can do it in free agency, but they got to do that.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. I mean, if you look at the Rams offensive line was much higher rated than the Niner offensive line. Who was the one team that actually bothered Seattle? The Rams. Why?
And what could they do against Seattle?
Yeah,
run the fucking ball.
Ran for 6-1 a carry. The Rams in the last game ran as a team for over 5 yards a carry. Shanahan said it the other day on the broadcast. He's like, look, they sit in their 2 deep zone, talking about Seattle. They sit with their 2 deep safeties, and if you can't run them out of it, then it's just fucking game over. I mean, because if you can't run them out of it, then you're just going to have to dump it off underneath against their super fast second level defenders, and no big plays, no explosives. They get explosives, you don't. I mean, that's really it. Barnwell did a great piece leading into the Super Bowl about how the number one factor in winning football is no longer even turnovers. If you win the turnover battle, you win like 59% of the time. But if you can win the explosive ratio, if you have more explosives than you give up and you have a better ratio of explosives, that team wins 61% of the time. So it's all about that. And that's the key factor in today's football. And that's what Seattle does better than anybody. They get explosives. They go after Rashid Shaheed to get more explosives. They go for speed backs like Walker to get more explosives. They just drafted the kid Arroyo out of Miami. He didn't play much this year, but him and Barner are going to be a terrific tight end combo. More explosives. So they get explosives on offense. They sit in their 2 deep shell. They don't give away any explosives on defense. So you have to be able to run the ball. You got to be able to run them out of it. So the Niners got to get better, stronger, more powerful run blockers at the point, and they need more and better running backs, not just CMC.
Yeah, I mean, the reason the Niners can't run the ball against the Seahawks aren't really engaging their safeties. They're playing those safeties both very deep. And so what they do is they have a 5-man front, and they ask one of their defensive tackles, either Jaron Reed or Leonard Williams, to 2 gap. Everyone else is one gapping. But between those 5 guys they have and the 2 linebackers, they have all 8 gaps covered. And so they're really beating the Niners at the front line. They're that Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence,
Yep.
they're defeating the 49ers run game. And if the 49ers are going to beat it, they have to get better at left guard. They have to get better at center. They
Yeah.
have to force those safeties to come down and play the run. And right now, they're not. I mean, they can't even get past the first level of the Seahawks defense is what I'm trying to say.
And there's other things that they can do. Like, for example, you know, if you have a great strong arm quarterback or a quarterback with mobility, their quarterback has some mobility, you can make some plays against this defense. If you have a great receiver that has speed that can hit a seam, you can do some things against this defense. But they don't have those pieces. They don't have that dynamic arm quarterback, and then they don't have the great dynamic receiver. They don't have the offensive line to open the holes, and they don't really have the back, even though CMC's a good back. He's lost a step, and he's more of a receiver than a run between the tackles guy. They need to improve their offensive line, get a more dynamic back, add a receiver that can threaten vertically. And then I think Purdy's never going to have the big arm, but he's got a good enough touch that I think and good mobility where I think they can make some plays, but they're not going to do it if Seattle's just going to sit back there. And then the Niners have such slow weapons. The watching the all 22 for Niners Seahawks was unlike anything I've ever seen. There was absolutely nothing. There was nobody got away from anybody. Everybody was totally blanketed. It's amazing they had any passing yards at all. So they've got to get faster weapons, stronger line, better back, and that's really it. They lost because of personnel more than anything.
You got to understand the Seahawks are a great all-time great defense, but they're small. Their base defense, their Sam linebacker is a safety. Their nickel defense, their Will linebacker is a safety. They're playing their safeties way deep. They're daring you to run the ball.
Begging you to run.
And if you can't, you got to look inward. Is it your running back's fault? Well, then, I'm just got to point out for Christian McCaffrey, his last 4 games against Seattle, 3.4 yards per carry, 7.2 yards per catch, no touchdowns. So he's not exactly dominating them. And the Seahawks are clearly making their number one priority to shut him down, and they're succeeding. So you got to find a way to run the ball against Seattle. It's way too hard to throw against that freaking defense with all that speed and the safeties back and the different blitzes and pressures, and they don't even have the freaking pressure to get pressure. I mean, you got to run.
Got to run. I mean, the way they're set up too, it's like you can make plays on the second level against their linebackers. They over pursue. They're not very disciplined, but their secondary is so good. Their defensive line's so big that their linebackers don't have to do a whole lot. Drake Thomas and Nick Emanwari, these guys can really run, but they're not the most instinctive best players. But it doesn't matter. Their mistakes get covered up because you don't get to that second level. You don't get past the line of scrimmage. Look how big Jaron Reed, Leonard Williams, and Byron Murphy are just owning Brendel, Pooney, and Burford. I mean, go watch that
They're
film.
Huge.
Those guys
You
just
need to have a left
guys.
guard who can hold his own against Leonard Williams. If Leonard Williams can lock him out and two gap and actually play both gaps while pushing you back into which is what he can do against the 49ers routinely, then what are you really going to do? How is Christian McCaffrey or Jordan James or anyone going to run the ball against that? You need help from the interior of the offensive line. And this isn't a pass protection thing. This is much more about run blocking, in my opinion. The running game was awful all year. And it's not 100% Christian McCaffrey's fault. He got hit in the backfield a lot.
No, he had like 5 games where he was averaged under 3 yards a carry. I mean, there's no question. Between the 2 Seattle games in that week, I talked to a couple of my media friends up there who are around the Seahawks every day and go to the facility every day like we do. And I said, what are you hearing about the 49ers? And he's like, off the record, they believe that if they just take away Brock's first read, that their Niner offensive line can't possibly stand up to their 4-man front. So it's literally just about at the snap, take away his initial read, and then nothing. That they don't really have a plan
And then
after
he has to
that.
bail. And then he has to bail.
And he's running because you're
Yep.
home. And it even showed very first play of the game in Seattle. You had Brendel help Burford against Leonard Williams. He pushed one arm towards Leonard Williams, and then he turns this way, and DeMarcus Lawrence loops right across his face and smokes Brock Purdy in the face. It's like, bro, the play wasn't over. You got to get the looper coming around. He totally missed him, and the guy hit your quarterback. It's the first play of the game. So I mean, don't show me stats and tell me this line's great. Go watch the film and then show me the line's great. And I would beg that you're not going to find the film that you want.
ZC Creative Media says trade for Xavier Worthy. Thoughts? I'm not a big fan of Xavier Worthy.
He's a big vertical threat receiver, but his ball skills are totally ordinary. And I bet you if you ask Kansas City right now, they regret drafting him where they did. This is another thing. Stop listening to the players. Supposedly Brett Veach made that pick because Mahomes kept saying, get me Worthy, get me Worthy, get me Worthy. You say, hey, Patrick, I love you, brother. Screw you. I'll do what I want. Don't listen to the players. The players don't know. They know players, but they don't necessarily know. They can't necessarily differentiate the best players.
He doesn't seem like necessarily a big downfield threat. I mean, they can't throw the ball down the field at all in Kansas City. And when they get in the ball, it's on like shallow crosses and stuff. So no, I don't. I'm not,
terrible ball skills. He's fragile. He's only a go route guy. He doesn't run across the middle. Everything's down the field on the sideline. He's kind of a less pumped up version of DK Metcalf.
SRT Unk 415 says if Tyler Algier is let go, he would be a great power back to pair with CMC. I like Tyler Algier. He's a good player.
He is. He was good at BYU. It's another name Dieter really liked as far as like.
But could we actually give the mid-round draft picks a chance? What's the point of drafting a running back in round 4 if you never play him? I mean, round 4 it's an important round. It's not a throwaway draft pick. That's just all I want to say. Yeah, they drafted him to play him at some point, right?
I mean, Jordan James looked pretty good in camp as a receiver. He looked pretty good at the end there. It's all that time in between. Why could they not get him out there? Was it because of him, because of them? I'd like to know. But yeah, I still think like I'm just as positive about Jordan Watkins being a good player today as I ever was. But I'm wondering about the Niners because they didn't put him out there. I'm more wondering about them than I'm wondering about him because I know he can play. This guy scored 9 touchdowns for Ole Miss in the SEC the year before he came to the Niners and just did nothing with the Niners.
SRT Unk 415 says, yeah, we got you. Hold on. El Pancho Loco says, sign free agents for offensive line, draft for defense and offensive weapons, and pray you hit on those picks, which BT Dub is only 7 picks this year. That's very interesting. That's exactly what the Bears did, right? The Bears signed the offensive lineman, Dahlman. Who's the left guard they brought in from
Thuney?
Anyway, they got what's that? Thuney? Yes, of course.
Thuney, yeah.
And then they drafted a bunch of weapons to help Caleb Williams, and now they just need a defense.
I mean, the Niners drafted weapons too. They just drafted Luther Burden and Colston Loveland, and the Niners, drafted Jordan James and Jordan Watkins. But it's amazing how that worked.
808 Niners says the problem is all these wide receivers, except for JJ, can't block. A lot of the runs this year, the skill position guys missed too many blocks. Yeah, they missed. Ayuk was very good at that. Pearsall's not a blocking factor, but still, I mean, they couldn't run between the tackles either. The blocking was an issue.
They're going up against one of the fastest defenses. We just outlined how this Seattle defense is one of the fastest defenses in football. They got to 4th and 1, and they ran to the short side of the field with an option play to their fullback. When that tells you right there, I mean, if they really thought Brendel was good, you just hand it to your running back behind Brendel and power through straight ahead. You only needed a yard, but they didn't believe they could get that yard, so they ran wide against the league's fastest defense. So it's not just that their receivers, I mean, this is another thing that, people are putting out there. Well, they missed Ayuk in his blocking on the edge. Yeah, but they didn't run in the A gaps worth a damn on the goal line or in short yardage, really for the last couple of years. So, I mean, Well, look at Pooney just getting destroyed. Look at Brendel just getting overpowered. Come on. I mean, let's not ignore the obvious.
Niners and Lime says now that it's draft season, it would be cool. It would be a cool exercise to do one mock draft, just best player available, and another just drafting for need. Love that. We should do that sometime. I like
Yeah.
that idea. Jacob Anthony says, my kid goes to school with DeMarcus Lawrence's son. He told me he may retire after the Super Bowl. Who knows? Maybe that will help. LOL. Be
You saw
interesting.
Rob Havenstein today
Yeah.
retired, the Rams starting tackle.
Michael O'Donnell, new member, thank you. And Mr. Fish and Chip says, do you speak to Lombardi or does he bolt home? I don't speak to him anymore. I just think he's a flat out disgrace to journalism. How about that? All right. Before we talk about any more Niner stuff, I want to shout out this week's sponsor, AG1. They were my sponsor a few weeks ago. Like a bunch of their stuff, I didn't even know what it was, but they say to take it every morning. So I'm making it this little micro habit. And they always say you're supposed to have a glass of water before you have coffee. I never do that. But now that there's stuff to put in the water, I do. And I feel so much better. I'm sure a lot of it is just having H2O, but when you add all these like probiotics and little, I feel like I'm actually an adult now. You know, and when you're a kid, your parents give you the little Flintstone multivitamin. You go to school feeling like I'm a healthy boy. My parents gave me everything I need, but now, you drink a little bit, you wake up, you're dehydrated, you go straight to coffee. Who knows what you're doing to your inside? So I've been on AG1 for like a month and I feel great. I feel terrific. So I actually really am proud. Not that I'm not always proud, but I can really back this. I literally take this every day and it feels like there's some positive benefits just all the time. So what I want to say is AG1 has more than 50,000 verified 5-star reviews and comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. For a limited time only, go to drinkag1.com/Cohn to get a free AG1 flavor sampler and AGZ sampler to try all the flavors, plus free vitamin D3 and K2 and AG1 welcome kit with your first AG1 subscription order. I like letters and numbers together. It makes it feel like it's high tech. You know what I'm saying? This is a limited time offer and only available while supplies last. That's drinkag1.com/Cohn. Drinkag1.com/Cohn. What does AG1 stand for? I don't know, but it gets the people going, Larry. I love it. Thank you, AG1.
Hey, man, you got to do what you got to do to feel the way you got to feel.
Hell yeah. That's well put. All right, Larry, here's the thing. We've talked about the substation. Here's what we know about the Niners. They have an injury issue that goes back more than 10 years. And there's theories as to why. My question to you is, do you think the Niners actually will do anything this offseason to address it? Will they move the practice field? Will they get a new trainer? Will they light sage on fire and try to clear the aura and essence of the team? Will they do anything?
You know, they got to be real careful, right? Because right now they're kind of just like, hey, there's nothing to it. And Christian McCaffrey is like, yeah, I know there's been talk that I'm concerned, but I'm not concerned. So now, I mean, I just don't know that free agents are going to buy into that. So I think at some point they're going to have to kind of do some kind of official, we did our deep dive, we've done our research, and we've decided that there's nothing wrong with the substation. They got to do something. I don't think, Billy Beane used to say hope is not a game plan. And right now, free agency is a month away. We all saw that Rogan was talking about it. We all saw that it was a major topic of Super Bowl week. We all saw lots and lots of NFL players asked about it on lots and lots of radio shows. So the idea that this is not going to impact them at all come free agency, which starts in a few weeks, seems like hope. And once again, hope is not a plan.
Look, all I know is that this head trainer, Dustin Perry, I mean, I'm sorry to call you out. I don't really know what you do. It's not my expertise. I'm not around you, but you've been with the organization the whole time Kyle's been here. You're one of the common denominators. It may not be your fault, just like it may not be the substation's fault. But to me, Dustin Perry gotta go. Substation gotta go. So if all you got to do is move across the street to get away from the substation, great, thumbs up. And if Dustin Perry has to be the fall guy, I'm so sorry. And if Dustin, you're really good at your job, then I'm sure another team will scoop you up. But I think that's bare minimum. And if they don't do those two things, you can't really say they're taking this seriously. And if they have a bunch of injuries next year, they can't use it as an excuse because you did nothing to address it. Nothing.
I mean, people believe in science. Cook up some science that shows that if it's. I mean, it either is dangerous or it isn't
Cook up some
dangerous.
science.
I mean, seriously. I mean, either acknowledge that it's dangerous and do something about it, or debunk that it's
Yeah.
dangerous and let's all move on.
And don't tell us that Jerry Rice played there, so that's your evidence. That's not enough.
Come on, it's ridiculous. That's the other thing. Don't have Jed talk about this. Don't let Jed talk about this.
Anyone but Jed.
Don't let anybody talk about it. Let somebody who's really, really well versed in this talk about this, or otherwise say no comment.
Yep. Yeah. Propa says it bugs me that our old injury-prone veterans are basically lobbying for old, slow, injury-prone Debo to come back. Yeah, but considering that none of the fans want this to happen, I'm hoping that people in the front office feel the same way. Anyway, Cyber Radio says the Niners shouldn't clean takedown Super Bowl sign. The Niners shouldn't clean / take down Super Bowl signage in their locker room. Day one of training camp, let everyone walk in there and send a message. That's old school.
God,
So they can still smell the cigar smoke and stuff. Oh, that'd be powerful.
That would be. Hey guys, we're gonna change it back. We're gonna get around to it. We haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, just drink it in.
Really cold.
Yeah, SRT Unk 415 says my top priority is finding out if Purdy can stay healthy for 17 games. If not, next offseason they need to bring in legit competition. Well, they do have legit competition. So here's my question, Larry.
Yes.
What are your expectations for Brock Purdy in 2026? 2025 wasn't the season he wanted. He got injured. He missed a lot of time. He came back. He had some great games. He had an unfortunate finish. What is your expectation for 2026?
I think Brock Purdy was one of the most incredible stories of the year. I mean, he supposedly had turf toe, and then he came back, and if he had it, he sure blocked it out well. I thought he played pretty damn well after coming back from the turf toe. So to me, this is not about Brock. I think we've established what Brock is. I think if anything this year, we understand what Brock is. His baseline, when he's good, when he's not. I think we have a pretty good idea of where he sits. Is he a top 5 quarterback? No. Is he a top 20 quarterback? Yes. So it's like he's a good quarterback, but he's not the greatest quarterback. I think this is more about Brock Purdy is a lot like Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts would not have won that Super Bowl by himself. He needed a killer line and a killer D and a really good run game. And Brock Purdy needs the same. And if the Niners can give him a really good line in front of him, build that fortress, get some better skill position guys, and improve their defense, the special teams is now taken care of. I think they're there. I think they know what they have in Brock, but now it's about supporting Brock. And if they don't do it, he's not going to have success. And if they do it, I think he can have ultimate success.
Here are my expectations for Brock Purdy in 2026. At least 4,000 yards through the air, at least 30 touchdown passes, no more than 15 picks, and that's on the high side, and 17 games started. I want to see no fewer than 16, but ideally a full season from Brock. I'm not asking him to win the MVP, but I do want him to be, in the top 7 or 8 in passing, because that's what his contract dictates, that he needs to be prolific as a passer. Unless the Niners can magically restart their running game and make Christian McCaffrey 26 again. I want to see 4,000 yards, because Sam Darnold, who isn't that great, but he's good enough to win a Super Bowl, had 4,000 yards and 25 touchdowns and 14 picks. I'd like Brock to be a little bit better than that and stay healthy.
I wasn't thinking you wanted actual numbers. As far as numbers go, I mean, I'd like to see a 70% completion percentage. I want to see him start at least 16 of the 17 games. I don't want him to miss more than a game. And to me, it's more about minimizing the turnovers. The touchdowns, that could be variable based on a lot of things. Do they run it more? Do they have success running it? But to me, it's about the turnovers and turnover worthy plays. That's the other one. When he's playing really well, he minimizes even his turnover worthy plays. So that's a key stat, and I the one that I would like to keep track of going forward.
There was something about Darnold that I really appreciated this year. Like, he didn't get the Super Bowl MVP, and he was not in the MVP conversation, but he played like he took his ego out of it the whole season. He didn't have to show what he could do or prove that he's a playmaker or not just a game manager. If the Seahawks said, "Sam, we need you to manage the game," he did that, and he could do it really well. He managed the game in the playoffs and turned the ball over no times. But if they said, "Sam, we're going against the Rams this week. We need you to air it out and be a bit of a gunslinger, and we can live with some turnovers, but you got to make some big time throws." He stepped up and did that too, and it was really not about him. And you don't really think of Purdy as having an ego. Maybe he doesn't. I think all players do to a degree, but I think there's a big showman part of Brock Purdy, for better or for worse. And I think each year he holds on to the ball a little bit longer, and he can have some really cool plays where he runs in circles and make guy miss. I mean, we think of that play to use check against the Bears. That's great. We're not seeing Sam Darnold do stuff like that, but we are seeing Darnold play a very mature, understated brand of football, which wins championships. So I'd like to see that from Brock as well. Like you said, the turnovers are more important than the touchdowns.
You know what, Grant, if you go and look at Brock Purdy's career with the Niners and you charted it year by year, what you'd see is that Brock Purdy, when he first took over, threw the ball shorter to better weapons who piled up bigger run after the catch yardage. And what you've seen a lot since is a drop back guy who now has to drive the ball down the field because his receivers don't get yards after the catch. They need to get back to a rhythm and throwing it shorter, getting it out of his
And that
hand
doesn't mean bring back Debo.
to more dynamic weapons, not drive it down the field. That's not going to be his game. He can do it a little bit, but he can be much better off if he can get into a rhythm with dynamic skill position guys that he can throw it short to and they can run. So prioritize run after the catch at tight end. Running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Receivers that have run after the catch ability, more speed across the board. They're just freaking slow. And get the ball out of his hands quicker and get him into more of a rhythm. I agree, because it's really changed quite a bit. The Niners used to be a play action team, and now they're kind of a down the field passing team. And they used to be a run after the catch team and throw it short and a lot of rack yardage. And now I think they were like 28th or something. They were really, really, really low in rack yards this year. That's got to come back. He's just not a big enough guy with a big enough arm to have to live driving it down the field. But he doesn't have any weapons that can really be dynamic for him, at least that get on the field. That's got to change.
All right, let's do some emergency prize picks because we got a Clippers Rockets game starting in 1 minute. So I'm always got an eye on some action, Larry, and I'm gonna be watching this game while we're maybe not while we're streaming, but after. So what do we think? Kevin Durant, 23.5 points against the Clippers tonight, more or less.
I like more. We'll go with more on Durant.
Okay. How about Kawhi Leonard, 24.5 points?
I'm going to go less.
They won't give us the less option. What's up with that? So why don't we try?
It's only more?
34.5 points and rebounds combined, more or less.
Less.
Okay. All right. How about
Kawhi's always got a ton of little injuries, too, that cause him to miss time.
How about John Collins? 20.5 points, more or less.
Less.
Okay. Amen Thompson, Oakland's finest.
I like
12.5 points. No. 15.5 points, more or less, for Amen Thompson.
I like him. Let's go more.
Larry likes him. I like him too.
Yeah,
one more. Benedict Mathurin. 14.5.
Ooh. He just got traded there. I'm going to say more.
All right. I like it. Those are our NBA prize picks for the day. Let's check them out. We're going 5. Not as confident because it's NBA, but we're going to flex them. We're going to put down 20, submit the lineup, download prize picks yourself, play $5, get $50 instantly in lineups when you use promo code COHN. All right. We teased this earlier. Yep. Larry, what are the reasons for the 49ers to feel optimistic going into next season, knowing that, I mean, they did well last year, but they're the third best team in the NFC West as things stand right now?
I mean, I think the optimistic side has to feel like you had a good volume draft. Like there was a lot of guys in that draft, and that means the arrow's pointing up because the players get better, a lot better, usually in year from year one to year two. So it's year one to year two for a lot of these guys. West will be better, Collins will be better, James will be better, Watkins will be better. Mikael Williams should be a whole lot better. So yeah, I do think that there's the volume that they got in this last draft will give them 8 or 9 players that are young, cheap, and the arrows pointing up as far as their production. So I think that benefits them. The fact that they got some good numbers at a last year's draft.
They still have a hell of a quarterback, whether or not, the contract is good or not. They have a hell of a quarterback. They have a hell of an offensive play caller. They have a really good special teams coach. They have a bunch of young players on defense who are ascending. I mean, Upton Stout looks good. Collins, Wet, like you said. Um, I mean, let's look at it from not just the Niners perspective. The Rams. I mean, Matthew Stafford's getting a year older. He's year to year. He just had the best year of his career. Is he going to do it again? Devontae Adams was breaking down the entire season. What does he have left? And then the Seahawks. You just lost Clint Kubiak.
Witherspoon and JSN are scheduled for big money extensions, and
they're going to be on their third coordinator in 3 years under Mike McDonald. You lost Clint Kubiak. You could lose Kenneth Walker. You might get a good play caller to replace Kubiak, or you might get like Kevin Patullo or something. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, one, you got to feel good about the Rams just because Stafford is so much to them, and they don't have their, I mean, so how much longer is he going to play? A year, 2, maybe? I mean, I don't think he's got more than a couple of years left. He was good this year, but a lot of times NFL quarterbacks have their best year and then they're gone. I mean, look at Steve Young. Steve Young was on top of the football world, and then he was gone. He was retired. So I don't think Stafford's got too much left. So that's probably why you can feel good about the Rams. I think you can feel good about the Niners from the standpoint of, they did have a bunch of youth on defense that are probably going to be, better. Can be better. I mean, they'll be better. And they've got some good young DBs, I think, that are pretty good, that can get better. They got some youth there. But I mean, that's probably the only reason I'd feel good about the Niners. And Purdy, you've got Purdy set now. I don't think that you've got the quarter with Purdy and Jones. You have a very good situation at quarterback.
Yeah, and what's interesting about Purdy, I mean, think of him being so expensive because he makes $53 million a year on average. But this last year, his cap hit was $9.1 million. That was 3.2% of the cap. That's minuscule. And then this year, his cap hit is 24.7%, which is significant, but it's still 8% of the cap. It's less than 10%, which is the green zone for quarterbacks. Compare it to Darnold. Last year, his cap hit, or this past year, his cap hit was $13.4 million. That's 4.8%. That's a big reason the Seahawks just won the Super Bowl, because he was so good for so cheap. But this year, his cap hit is $37.9 million, which is 12.5% of the cap. That's huge. That's more than Purdy. So that's another reason to feel better about the 49ers. Like, this Seahawks team's going to be different next year. Way different.
No doubt. And also, hopefully you can build on the momentum of what you did last year in the draft. Maybe you can the Niners have to put together a really, really good draft. But also I'll tell you the other reason to feel good about the Niners is the Niners last year had $103 million of dead cap, and they found a way to still win 12 games and win a playoff game with $103 million of dead cap. I believe it was second or third most dead cap of any team in pro football. This year, their dead cap number is way, way down. So they're going to have more talent on their football team this year because of that. So in a lot of ways, it was kind of amazing what they were able to accomplish. Now, granted, the schedule was part of it. Saleh was part of it. Jones, and how he played was part of it. But yeah, I mean, that's why Shanahan at the beginning of the year was like, we'll see how we can hang above, keep our head above water and then get into the playoffs. Because I bet you he wasn't even thinking 12-5. I bet you he was thinking 10-7, something like that.
I would agree. All right. So those are the reasons to feel optimistic about the 2026 49ers. What are the reasons to feel pessimistic about the 2026 49ers? I mean, they got the best team in the league in their division, plus the Rams.
Well, I mean, to me, the number one reason to feel bad about the Niners is the biggest thing that you could do. I mean, as far as impacting a football team, is changing the people that touch the ball. And look at what the Niners have. Pearsall's been glass, has not been able to stay healthy. I know people are tired of me saying it. I'm tired of saying it. How about this? How about just fucking play? And then we don't have to say that anymore. And then Juwan Jennings is probably too expensive for them. And then the rest of their receivers are just either really young, like Watkins, or really old, and Kendrick Bourne. He's a free agent. So, I mean, they don't have much at receiver. Ayuk's gone. Kittle's probably, even though he says he's back week 1, he'll be 33 and coming off an Achilles. And so, and they don't have a great young tight end on the roster. And then they don't have, a great offensive backfield either. I mean, it's CMC. Robinson's a free agent. Jordan James is unproven. They don't have a second running back. So, I mean, CMC's coming off a 450 touch season. I mean, they could be in a major crisis as far as how are they getting yards? How are they producing offense? Who are their receivers? Who's their runners? Who's going to catch the ball? I mean, it's a mediocre line at best. I think it's a more of a top tier quarterback, but so what? If you don't have any weapons, your weaponry looks potentially horrible because I
Yeah.
don't know that Kittle's coming back. I don't know that JJ's coming back. I don't know that CMC is going to stay healthy. And they dominated the ball, and everybody else behind them did nothing. So I think they got a major crisis as far as the guys who handle the football.
It feels like for years there's always been one team the Niners had to go through, and for years it was Kansas City, and they never beat Kansas. They've never beaten Kansas City since Andy Reid's been there, since Kyle Shanahan's been there, and now it feels like it's Seattle. So you got to go through this Seahawks team, and what's frustrating is that like over the last 4 games, you beat them once week 1, and you know that one guy keeps bringing it up, and it's great. They did win that game, but they won it with defense. They held Seattle to 13 points. It was Darnold's first game there. It was Kubiak's first game there. It felt kind of fluky. What's a trend is the fact that the Niners offense hasn't been able to do anything against Seattle in the last 4 meetings. And like, let's look at the most important people on the offense. McCaffrey, I talked about him earlier against Seattle. The last 4 meetings, 3.4 yards per carry, 7.2 yards per catch, 0 touchdowns. And then Purdy, last 4 meetings, he's completing 69% of his passes, but he's averaging 175 yards per game, 6.6 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 5 picks, and a 78 passer rating. So the Seahawks just have the Niners number on offense. And we've talked about what they have to do earlier. They got to beef up their offensive line. They got to get another running back. I don't know. I wonder if Kyle has the answers. If he brings back Debo, I would have to conclude that he doesn't have the answers. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that I do not want to see the welcome wagon back for all these has-beens. I mean, I don't care that you have a good relationship with him. Don't care. I don't care. And nobody else does either. And it's really just about, can these guys produce? And Debo couldn't produce last year. So what, he's going to be produced next year, 2 years after? It makes no sense. So enough of the welcome wagon, enough of the warmth and the kumbaya, and we're getting the band back together. No, don't get the band back together. It wasn't that good of a run the first time, and that you need to find the future. I mean, that's really it. You gotta get a bigger, stronger line. You gotta get a tougher, better runner, and you gotta come back better. I mean, you gotta found. Steve Young said it the other day on CanBR. He's like, "Hey, look," or I was on the Rich Eisen show. He's like, they got to go and find their next foundation players out of the draft, out of second round, third round, fourth round picks. You're not going to, and this whole idea that, you're just, you just need to go backwards for the guys that you used to have. No. You need to find somebody who can run the Debo role, but it's not Debo anymore. So, I mean, it's just, I do understand that the Niners are warm. Lynch is warm. Shanahan's warm. They're warm people. They like the reunion idea. But guess what? The best personnel people are cold, and they don't like the reunion idea. Bill Walsh didn't do any fucking reunions. He didn't. He got rid of
Hey, we
guys.
broke up with you. No, you're coming back.
No,
Again, it'd be like the Rams bringing back Cooper Kupp. It's ridiculous. Let it
we
go.
put Roger on Plan B, but we brought him back. We said goodbye to Ronnie, but we brought him back.
Yeah,
No,
no, not
no, we
what you do.
never did that. And so enough with the warmth, and go find new guys. And if you can't find new guys because you're all out of ideas because you're really the de facto personnel guy, then you need new personnel guys. But if you don't believe in your personnel guys to listen to them, and you're just going to go with, you and your other assistant coaches, and the players that you've played against and how you feel that they played in those. I mean, that's too limited. That's too. I want to see Kyle Shanahan back at the combine. I mean, either I don't want to see him at the combine at all, and then just don't involve him in the picks, or if he's going to have some final say on the picks, then get on the bird and go to the combine and meet these guys and put it all out there. I know he believes he can get a lot done in his office. It's all televised, but nothing, nothing beats meeting somebody in person and deciding what they're made of face to face.
One more thing that's at least cause for concern, Raheem Morris. I understand why they brought him in. They could have waited a little bit longer and gone after Jim Schwartz, who would have been a home run hire. Raheem Morris has certain things that are good, and he's probably better than Gus Bradley, although I don't know for sure. But this Niners defense was a big reason they won 12 games. It's the main reason they beat the Eagles in the playoffs. They really punched above their weight all year. They were coached really well. Are they going to punch above their weight with Raheem Morris, or are they going to be about as good as their talent level, which is, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, listening to Dante Whitner cite those, sources, I think it's pretty clear that, if you're like one of these people that are like, hey, Raheem Morris, like you think Raheem Morris is just going to solve everything they have defensively, think again. I mean, it's not like, hey, everywhere Raheem has gone, top 5 defenses have followed. In fact, that's not the way it's gone. He's been in some great places. He does have a couple rings. I really think that the Niners had prerequisites that they wouldn't really share with us when they were talking about this job. Their prerequisites were they want to have a zone-based coverage on the back end, which pushes Morris in front of Schwartz. Schwartz wants to have a man-to-man based coverage. So I think that was one of their prerequisites. Another prerequisite, I think they like Johnny Holland. And I think they like Chris Kasarik. And I think they wanted those guys to stay. And I think with Raheem Morris, he can coach the DBs and allow those guys to stay. And so they get to keep continuity on their staff. So I think it has something to do with those factors. So when you factor in all of the things, Raheem, then, obviously you got to have a relationship with Kyle, and he does. And I think that probably pushed him in front of, and I think the Schwartz thing, I don't think the Niners for sure knew exactly how he was going to get himself free, if he could get himself free, if Cleveland was going to demand compensation. So I think that there were complications around him, but I think it's really has more to do with they want to play cover 3, cover 4. He does that. They want to keep Holland. He'll do that. They want to keep Kasarik. They'll do that. They want to stay with a 4-3 base. I think they're probably going to stay with a 4-3 base. So, I mean, I think there were prerequisites that I don't think we really got the full picture of what they were searching for.
One more reason, and then we'll get to super chats for pessimism. It looks like an overall trend to me. For years, the trend was the team with the best offense would generally win the Super Bowl. Brady, the McVay team, the Andy Reid years. I mean, it seemed like it was an offense. It was trending that direction. But the last 3 years, from the 2023 Chiefs to the 2024 Eagles to the 2025 Seahawks, it seems like those 3 teams all had flat out elite defenses. And it seems like to win the Super Bowl, you need to have a flat out elite defense until offenses catch back up to what these top defenses are doing. And it looks like the Niners are building through offense, which is fine. But at least maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like the trend in the NFL right now is the special units are on defense. And those are the teams with the best chance to win a Super Bowl. I would think that the Houston Texans are better positioned than the 49ers to win a Super Bowl next year, simply because the Texans already have that elite defense. They got to fix their offense.
I mean, I'm sure the Niners would push back and say, "Hey, look, man. Last year in the draft, we started off Mikael Williams, Alfred Collins, Nick Martin, Upton Stout, C.J. West. Our first 5 picks were all on the defensive side, so they would probably say, "Hey, man, we are making that commitment
And
to
they
be
had
good on
Robert
defense."
Saleh. It was great, but now you don't. And now you
Yeah.
got Raheem Morris, and we'll see what those guys. I mean, you put the effort in, but we'll see if any of those guys are Devin Witherspoons or Nick Amon-Warries or, you know,
Well, I think there's something to be learned though from I do believe it's a copycat league. I do believe you can glean something from every team that wins. I think what you saw is that you got to have a big time defensive front line. I mean, look at the last 2 teams that have won.
yep.
Seattle has such a good front that they can go with undersized boxes because you can't get past their front that much. And if you do, you've been nicked up a little bit, and then their super fast second level defenders shut you down. So they had a
Same with
big
the
dominant.
Eagles.
And look at the Eagle front. The Eagles had 8 sacks in the Super Bowl, Milton Williams and all these guys. So, yeah, you got to have dudes up front. And, Kalia Davis, Robert Beal, I mean, it's not good. It's not
Also, that
anywhere
like
good enough.
one gap wide 9 shit, no one else is using that. It seems like the dominant defenses are 5-man fronts with 2 high safeties and 1 D lineman playing 2 gaps. It's the Fangio scheme. I mean, that's what 15 years ago when Fangio was here, the front was Alden Smith, Justin Smith playing 1 gap, Ian Williams playing 1 gap, Ray McDonald as the 5 technique 2 gapper, and Ahmad Brooks setting the edge. That was the front. And those seem to be the defenses that are having the most success. Maybe it's time to ditch the wide 9 and the 1 gap defense. Like, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. Just
Well,
throwing it out there.
I think you are going to see a lot of 5-man front from Raheem Morris. I really do. I don't think you're going to see the exact same version of the wide 9. Now, I do think the Niners are going to be a 4-3 base. It's going to be a 4-3 base front, but I think you're going to see a ton of 5-man fronts with Raheem Morris, more than you saw this year.
S2 Blink says not sold. There's a lot of NBA players with the same injuries. What are you talking about? Substation stuff? NFL Niners for Life says besides Bosa, Kyle and John has been unsuccessful drafting in first round. Can you two burn it in their heads that they need to trade out and pick up speedy, durable, hungry starters? We beg you. They don't trade down very much.
Yeah, I think this was a classic year to do exactly that, though. Not that that first round picks aren't useful, but I would rather see them move down for like a pick in the 30s or 40s and get a couple extra picks, on day 2 and day 3. More picks in rounds 3, 4, and 5. I know they've died in the 3rd round. They've missed in the 3rd round 10 times, but I think the plan has been good to get 3rd round picks. You just have to make it work, and there's a little bit more risk involved. It's not as easy picking in the 3rd round. You need a little bit more drafting acumen. So hopefully they get it right. But yeah, I do think trading down is probably the smarter play.
Miguel G8GT says it's been 10 years of them missing on draft picks. What makes you think they'll switch up how they draft? What do they need to do to hit on first and second? Honestly, it's funny. I've been really tough on John Lynch all offseason. I still think they need another GM, but I keep going back and forth between is he bad at his job or is he not doing the job? And now I'm kind of going back to like he's not the GM. Kyle's the guy. It's Kyle's team. He's picking the players. John Lynch is just talking. That's basically what I feel. So firing John Lynch doesn't necessarily do anything.
I mean, what I would do, I mean, if you're just saying, okay, what would you do? And I like these guys. I like Lynch. I like Shanahan. I think it's a good regime. I think there's been a lot of positives. I would not just fire everybody. But what I would do is I would give them both a raise, and then I would take Kyle's getting the raise because I'm taking personnel final say away from him. John's getting the raise because I'm slightly moving him from kind of the key decision maker in the front office to just part of the decision-making process. But I would go for that guy Kirshner, who's John Schneider's second in command. And I would bring in another outside voice that takes a different look, a different perspective, and maybe a different plan. And I would take Kyle's a great play caller, a great play sequencer. He's never proven to be a great general manager. There are a lot of coaches, Mike Holmgren, Bill Belichick, Bill Walsh, that were let down by themselves and their lack of general manager talent. It's a different skill set. And it just, look at New England. Why is New England suddenly back in the Super Bowl now? It's because they fired Belichick as the GM, most importantly, and they hired Elliott Wolf. Everybody talks about Vrabel, but it's Elliott Wolf who had a great offseason. They spent a ton in free agency. He got a bunch of good players. He had a really good draft, and they rode that to the Super Bowl, to a Super Bowl appearance. So the Niners need to do the same. Let Shanahan just coach. Let Lynch just kind of lead the organization on a public front, and go get a really strong alpha decision maker, personnel evaluator, and give that guy autonomy to build. You need to build now more than anything. So you better find somebody who can build. And I'd take that kid Kirshner away from Seattle and make him my decision maker personnel wise.
Guess what they're not going to do, Larry?
They're not going to
everything you just suggested.
I know. They're not, because you know why? Because it would hurt Kyle's feelings, and it would hurt John's feelings, and there would be some bad. But guess what's going to hurt their feelings more? When you allow them to do what they've continued to do, which is hit and miss and hit and just back and forth, and then they're not good enough, and then Jed yanks the plug in 2 years, and they're out of a gig. If you go with my plan, you're going to win a Super Bowl, and you'll get a contract extension, and you'll have success. Control is great if you know what to do, but if you don't know what to do, it's not so great.
Dr. Rockman says the team isn't ass because of Purdy's contract. It's ass because of scouting. Drafting is terrible. Free agent was never a tool to build this team. It's for the final piece or two. See Philly and Seattle. They win with the draft.
Definitely. Got to win in the draft. I mean, I like the way Green Bay handles free agency. They basically sit it out, but then they said, you know what? Give us Josh Jacobs. Give us, that good safety they got from the New York Giants. Seattle does the same thing. I mean, Seattle went and, they've done it at the trade deadline with Rashid Shaheed and Leonard Williams and Julian Love. They've gotten difference maker guys at the trade deadline, but they've also done it in the draft. They found Cross and Lucas, their starting tackles, in the same draft. They drafted Witherspoon and Kobe Bryant in the same draft. They just got Eman Wari and Zabel in the same draft. These are impact starters, and they're hitting. They're hitting consistently. The Niners' number one picks, now granted, they're not all in the first round, but it's Pearsall, it's Jair, it's Drake Jackson, it's Trey Lance, it's Javon Kinlaw. I mean, their last good number one pick before this year was Nick Bosa in 2019. You can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drafts. You can't miss on your number one pick 5 years in a row and not feel the impact of that. So, I mean, I don't know why people are so, let's not fire anybody. I mean, how many drafts should you get how many first round picks should you F up before you get fired?
Yeah, good point. Dazza says biggest reason for pessimism is they've been doing the same things for 9 years. I don't see them changing anything in year 10, especially since there's no actual pressure from ownership for them to change. Bob the Trapper says, love you, Larry, but you fucking lazy. F you, Larry.
Thank you.
Sean for the win says this front office prioritizes relationships over the talent, coaching, roster, and player development. Kyle prefers to work with and coach his friends more than he wants to win. Kyle, you need to address that. Joseph Ernberg says, I want Debo back just for the YouTube content. When you put it that way, so do I. And then Michael O'Donnell says, 2-part question. What is your top O lineman you would like the Niners to get? And do you draft an O lineman or do you pick up one in free agency? Why not both? The Seahawks just spent their first round pick on Gray Zabel, who the Niners could have taken. And honestly, if they could taken Gray Zabel, he would have been a terrific pick. So just get a good one.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite guys is Nick Allegretti, who played for Washington and Kansas City, and he can play guard or center, and he's a veteran. He's pretty cheap. That would be a guy that I think is going to be let go by Washington. I really kind of like him. As far as favorite offensive lineman in this draft, it's hard to say, but I mean, there's a kid from Georgia Tech named Keelan Rutledge, who I think is a plug-and-play starter at guard. He's 6'4", he's 320. He's tenacious, and he's just relentless. He's got the wrestling background. He's a great athlete. He's probably going to be there in day 2, maybe late day 2, 3rd round, 4th round. That's the guy kind of like Keelan Rutledge from G Tech.
Keelan Rutledge from G Tech. That's an hour and a half show. Larry, thank you as always.
Yep.
People in the chat, thank you. Super chatters, non-super chatters, people watching, people, any people. Thank you
got a new one. You got a new one
here.
down there.
Oh, we got a new one. Damn. Joseph Ernberg says Cardinals will be better than the Niners next season. Book it. Thank you, Joseph.
Great.